Hello, welcome to my channel. Today I am going to be making these angel bonnets. So here are three different sizes. This is a micro, small, medium, and I don't have a large here. I have taken the pattern from Marianna's Lazy Daisy Days blog, and I will put the pattern below. I will do the micro one. I've actually made it smaller. This is her size, the small. I've made the micro. It's even smaller. And this over here is a 15 centimeter head. So you can actually see it's a little bit small for it. Just a touch too small. This is the medium. And the way I do it is I put the ribbon through here. I feed it through so it can be tied underneath the chin. On second thought, let me just make this one here. And the list to the pattern is available online. I have workbooks, pattern books. I have written the pattern out. This is a micro, this is my smaller version. So we have Marianna's Lazy Daisy Days. Got the word daisy. She suggests a 4mm with a DK or a 3.25mm with a 4-ply, and then I've added thin DK because these are actually in a thin DK. Yarn is sold as a DK, but it's very, very thin. And her pattern, so we're going to cast on 40 stitches, and then we're going to do 3 rows of garter. Then we are going to decrease row 4. Then row 5 and row 6 are repeated for a total of 12 rows in stocking stitch. Then we're going to shape the crown, which is row 17 and row 18. First row knitted together, next row pulled together, to end up with 7 stitches. Then we cut and we thread through the stitches that remain, 7 stitches, draw tight and secure, and then we join the back seam from the top, and you go halfway down to the opening, and this leaves a little opening on the back. See, there is, you can see here, it's actually quite deceptive because you would think it goes higher up, but it's actually quite low down, and then halfway down. That allows the little neck to be here like that. So it's actually fairly simple. I'm assuming that there are different ways of attaching the ribbon. One could either sew it just to the extremities. Another way also that I have been threading them, especially for the very, very small ones, is I literally thread it from there, and I go there, and then I go back. So it'll be like that. This particular ribbon is a 3mm, and I have cut 18 inches. So there we go, 12 inches. Get yourself a ruler. So 18 inches I did. I'm going to cut so many different ribbons. No, this is not 18 inches, really. It's a little bit less than 18 inches. And in centimeters, it's 30 plus 12. So it's 42 centimeters. You can, of course, adjust the length of your ribbon according to the size of your hat, because obviously if you're going to use a 4mm and a DK, the hats are going to be larger. So let's go. I have my needles. I've chosen this yarn. It's a thinnish DK. It's not as thin as the white one. It's just that I think it's easier to see. And this is the little gown that I made. It's loosely based on the Elspeth pattern. I've just modified it, made my own version. The Elspeth angel gown, also found on the web, on Ravelry by someone called Jeannie. I had her name written down yesterday. Let me see if it's in here. Yes. Jeannie Marie, the Elspeth baby gown on Ravelry. So she has some very, very nice patterns. So let's get started. Find the beginning of the yarn. I put this in yesterday. Okay, make sure I'm taking the right one. Yeah, that's the one from the center. It doesn't need much yarn, so even though I have just the end of a ball here sitting in my little cup, it doesn't actually need that much. Okay, so to cast on 40, I use my arm to measure. Gives me a good idea, especially when I make many. Look, this is my little pile from the last 2 days. They go very, very quickly. Okay, so I have 3¼ millimeter needles. Actually, that's the right way. And off we go. Everyone has a different cast on method, so I'm not going to show you how to cast on because this is not a beginner's knitting pattern. I mean, a beginner's knitting video. This is for people who know how to knit, and you all have your own style and technique. So oops. Sort of a strange yarn, this. I purchased one ball. Don't think I'll be purchasing it again. It tends to fray, which means that, in my terminology, it means that the plies don't hold together. Look how they come loose so quickly. It very quickly comes loose, and it's annoying. So that's why I plan to use the last bit of this ball to make little bonnets, because when I make the gowns, I like to go quickly, and I'm watching TV, and I had to keep looking down. It was a very gripping TV series last night, and I had to keep looking down because the yarn was fraying. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 2, 6, 8, 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So 14. Take off the remaining ones and have a little bit left. I said when I use my arm because I like to make things in groups, you know, a dozen or half a dozen or something. After the first or second one, I pretty much know how much yarn I need to cast on. So we're going to do 3 rows of knit, which another terminology is 3 rows of garter. And once again, this is not a video on beginner's video on how to knit. Okay. I use the tail as a guide for row counting. Depending on how you garter, your tail will be in a different place. Depending on how you cast on. Goodness, 5 o'clock in the morning. Depending on how you cast on. Let me position myself a bit better. Oops. So this is going to be the end of row 1, and as you can see, the tail is at the beginning of the row. Which means every even row I will be the same place as the tail. So that's row 1. When I come back, it'll be row 2. So the end of an even row, I'm at the same place as the tail. As I plan to make 3 rows, 1, 2, 3, I'll end up here. And that way I'll know that I have 3 rows. So I'm going to push pause and you continue with that, and I'll see you at the end of the 3rd row. So here I am, the end of the 3rd row. And now we're going to do the 4th row. Now, Mariana, she likes to slip the first stitch. So row 5 and 6, when we get there, you'll see I've actually changed my pattern. That's what I do. So I write out, I have a, these are the patterns from the web, and then I rewrite them into my little book, and I tweak them. Change little things here and there, so that's quite neat. I've already measured it. This is for a 14 centimeter head. And as I made quite a few, I've realized that I've actually been slip stitching the first row, first stitch also on the purl row. So now that I've tweaked the pattern, I've just put slip first one, knit the row, slip first one, knit one, purl, knit 2. Because this is actually going to create this lovely little grid at the back here. See how that goes? So it's basically a stocking stitch with the last 2 and the first 2 in garter. Very, very clever little hat. You know how the little brim flays out. So yes, let's get back to row 4. Row 4 is slip 1 and then knit 2 together and then knit 1. Now because I twist my stitches the way I work, drove my mother up the wall, I have to do that. I have to slip 2 off, put them back on and knit them. If I was purling, it's easier. I can just go straight in. Okay, knit 1, knit 2 together, knit 1, knit 2 together, knit 1. Okay, approaching the end. Knit 2 together, knit 1. If you want to be sure, you can count your stitches. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 27. And that's correct. So now the next 2 rows, I'm going to take this workbook is so much neater. I'm going to take a screenshot of that. Let me see. Here we go. Row 5 and 6 stocking stitch will be the main body with the side edge here to create the grid, this edge, the garter grid. Total of 12 rows. So what I do is to count them, I actually count from the inside. And I'll be counting the little bumps. 2, 4, 6, 8, and so on. Actually, I find it much easier than trying to count the V's. You can count the V's if you want to, but once again, you can use your tail as a guide. But once the stocking stitch gets underway, it becomes self-explanatory. You can see where you are. So this first row is going to be row 5, and it's a row of knit. Slip the first stitch, and then knit row 5. I said it's a strange yarn. Look how it splits. It's very annoying. You would think, oh, for a video, why didn't I choose another one? Oh, so it'd be, just have to just look very carefully. Also look at the camera. See, when I use a tricky yarn like this, then I prefer to listen to an audiobook or a lecture. YouTube has some wonderful ones. And that doesn't have to be a highbrow lecture. It can just be, there's quite some really exciting ones as well. So then I can watch my fingers. But when I'm watching a TV series that, I mean, like Vikings, you want to see what's going on. You don't want to always look down. So that's row 5. Now I'll be starting the stocking stitch because this will be a purl row, and the pattern, I've done slip 1, knit 1, purl, knit 2, whereas she did knit 2, purl to last 2 stitches, knit 2. Once again, as you feel. So slip 1, knit 1, I bring the yarn forward, and I'll be pulling this row. So I have a rather odd technique which twists stitches, and so whenever I went to my mum for help, she would get frustrated because of the way that my stitches were lying on my needle. Okay, get my yarn. And I come into the end of the purl row. The last 2 stitches are going to be knit to create that side edge. So I'm going to continue, and when I come to the end of my 12th row, I will catch up with you. So to go ahead and do that. Push pause. So I thought I'd do a little check-in to make a row count. So pulling it down a bit so that there's a bit of space between the rows, I'm going to count how many little ridges I have of stocking stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I've done 8 rows of stocking stitch. So 4 more to go. So I am back and double check the row count of stocking stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So you see how much easier it is to count on this side than it is this one. When I used to count on this side, use the needle, find your little V's, and then you just stick it in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then 1 on the needle. So it counts differently, or you have to try and find one down there, and then you think, well, do I start from that one, or do I count from that one? Yeah, I prefer this side. See, I didn't even do a proper job on the other side, just goes to show. So now we're coming in for the home run. Row 17 and row 18 are going to be decreases. So row 17 is to slip 1, knit 2 together. Let me go to this book. I don't know why I'm using that booklet here. Slip 1, knit 2 together, times 13 give you 14 stitches. I once again modified it slightly because, as I said, after making a few, I realized that I was more comfortable doing it this way. Purl 1, purl 2 together times 6, purl 1, and that's 8 stitches. So yeah, I do tweak the patterns that I find, because we all work differently and some things just are more comfortable for us than others. So here we go. Slip 1. Okay, that stitch is twisted. Okay, knit 2 together, knit 2 together, knit 2 together. Oops, gotta concentrate because of the way this yarn. That was the term I was looking for, splitty. Many of the people in the groups that I follow on Facebook, knitting communities, they use the term splitty, a splitty yarn. And coming to the end. Now, because of the way that I twist my stitches, I have to put them the right way. And knit 2 together. Okay, turn over. Now we're on the purl side. I just purl 1. Just prefer that. And then purl 2 together. Making sure I get the whole stitch in and not a segment. See, look at that. Okay. Purl 2 together. I do give it a little bit of a tug so that there is not, because if I don't, look at that, see how wide it is. I give it a little pull. I come to the last stitch and I pull it. So 2, 4, 6, 8. Now I have a selection of needles in here. Going to cut enough. Where are my little, oh, there we go. Going to cut enough now. This is a blunt one. For demonstration purposes, I'm going to use the darn needle. It's blunt. Hold the stitches like that. Actually, what am I doing? Might as well just do it properly. A smaller one, because this is a thinnish needle, so the stitches are going to be smaller. Now what I do is I hold it. See the yarn is on that side. Pinch it with my fingers, and I come from the other side. Now those of you who crochet and cast on, start crocheting circles with a magic circle. This is basically a magic circle at the end of one's work. See, then you pull it, and then I go through again, stitching, catching all the stitches, going all the way around, and I pull it again. If you want to, you can go a third time. This is not going to be a pressure point. If you were lying on it or something, then yes, maybe you wouldn't want to go too many times, but then move this away. Opening up, so if it's curled in, you're going to make sure that you've got to really have the edge of the work. Put them together as a guide. You can really see where the bumps are. See the 2 bumps there, 2 there, 2 there. This one's a little bit off. There we go. We're going to be going halfway down. If you want to, because it can be tricky once you start, you can think, well, where was the beginning? Is it there or there? If you want to, you can put a little pin in, just so that you, not to join the work, just to give you a guide. So okay, that's more or less halfway, and see, not joined, it's just a guide. and then you start. Everyone has different ways of sewing up. Some prefer to sew in from the inside. I like to join my work from the outside because I try to catch really the last little stitch. Now these are the bumps. Okay, see there's a bump. I just take the two bumps at the same time. I catch the work in between the two bumps. And I take the two bumps again. It's funny when I feel someone's watching me. Normally I do this without actually thinking about it. It's like driving. You can drive for years and then someone says, oh, show me what pedal I must push. And you go, oh, actually, what? The brain just knows what to do without actually thinking about it. So I'm coming to the end. So you see there, because I put that little guide pin in, I know I've come to the end. Because once you start sewing up, it can be very easy to actually forget where the start is. So now that I've come to the end, I actually want to secure this. You can either go around like that. I prefer not to. So go back a little bit just to make sure it's nice and firm. There we see, instead of just going round and round like that, which will probably cause quite a big stitch here. Then you feed it into the inside. Now some people would just keep the same needle, but I have a little pet peeve. I like to use a sharp pointed needle when I work in the ends. It's called a chenille needle, ChenIlle. This is quite a small one. Now, as this is for an angel, it's not going to have heavy duty washing. But see this how this thread frays? Normally what I would do is, for a little tiny article like this, I would break up into 3 and I would work each thread away. It becomes virtually invisible. That's for the preemie outfits I do that. But for the angels, there's not going to be a pressure point. For the preemies, you really don't want to seam where there's any kind of pressure point, because they're lying on it and it really starts to hurt after a while. You all know it's like when there's in your bed, if your sheet or something is not completely smooth, as you lie on it, you can feel it. So I just work along. And because I'm using a pointed needle, it catches into all the different threads so beautifully. There we go. And using my scissors, come in like at an angle, snip it off. And then I do the same with the other one. Tend to unravel it a bit. Choose where I'm going to go. That's funny. Isn't it strange, this yarn? Go along that one. I live in an apartment block. Flats, as they call them in the UK. And you can hear the neighbours are watching Good Morning Britain. So it's obviously after 6 a.m. Here we go. Weaving up. Once again, depending on how much wear and tear an article is going to get, make a difference in how much you secure it. Because wash and wear can make it an angle, cut. Okay, so there's the little hat from the inside. We're going to fold it to the outside. And the ribbon, Going back to my selection of darning needles. Okay, it's a little bit pointy. You definitely want one that is not pointy. This one is huge, but it's a beautifully round blunt end. I have a lot more. I don't know exactly where they are. You can buy them in little packs. Let me show you. I know it's getting sidetracked, but you can buy in little packs, different sizes. Look at that. This is Tapestry, what I call chenille. This is round point, sorry. Tapestry's round point. And Tapestry without point. Look all the different sizes in that one. Literally under £2. It's really worth getting. Mit Spitz chenille with a point. Tapestry avec point. And these are large ones. So yeah, for under £10 you can buy yourself a whole selection, and it makes such a difference when it comes to finishing off the work. Or even if you want to add a button. I have really tiny one. So I said I don't know where half my stuff is. It's even should be actually smaller than that one. Here, let me see this one. There we go. It's bent. But see how small that is? And then I break my yarn up and I use literally one little thread like that. And I sew my buttons in place for the little tiny buttons. Okay, so back to where we were. You have two options. You can either go around there, or you can go around the brim. This is the 42 centimeter ribbon. Now it's a 3mm, so it's a little bit thick, and I notice when I put it in, it tends to twist all over the place. So this will be going on row 4, where the decrease happened. Sorry, I'm wrong. There's row 4, there's row 5, this is row 6. Talking nonsense. You can just weave it in and out. You can either be precise about it, or you can just more or less catch them. Trying to keep it flat as it feeds through. So I'm doing this for demonstration purposes. I actually wash my hats before I put the ribbon in. And then the ribbon is the last step before I send them off. I belong to Facebook groups. You'll see the names below on the video. And they distribute them to the hospitals. Okay. Wow, look at that. See how the ribbon falls out. So I obviously want them to be the same length, but okay, let's pulling it a bit, pull it out again. Whoops. Remember as a child when that used to happen to your jackets? You couldn't fix the problem. So there we go. Bring my little head back, bless it. As you see, it's a little bit small for this head. And then I normally use a 18-inch ribbon to make sure there's enough. And the little dress, which I haven't completed sewing up, go like that. Little ribbon. And I'll be adding a little bit of ribbon also to the dress down here, just to pick up the color. There we go. So yes, once I've washed them, I'll be adding the ribbon. And a lady in the group actually gave me a very good idea to stop the fraying at the end. She says use a lighter. Just burn the ends. Because look at that, otherwise it's just going to fray. Thank you very much for watching my video. And I hope this was informative and enjoyable. And as I said, you can look at the bottom for the different patterns. I'll just put mine out here again, but please go on the internet. Yeah, you can take a screenshot and then downsize it, but please go on the internet and under Mariana's Lazy Daisy Days blog, you will find it, and it's called an angel baby bonnet. There you go. Okay, bye.